In 2022, Morocco became the first African nation and the first Arab nation to ever reach a World Cup semifinal. The world called it a miracle. In 2026, Morocco just eliminated the Netherlands to reach the round of 16 again. Miracles don't happen twice. So what actually happened in between? Because the real story of Morocco isn't 2022, it isn't even 2026. It starts in a room in 2008 with a king, a plan, and a decision that had nothing to do with football talent at all. This is the story of what Morocco actually built, and why it was never about lightning striking twice. For any of this, you need to see how far Morocco actually fell. In 1998, Morocco went out in the group stage of the World Cup. Then they didn't qualify again for 20 years. 20 years. Think about what that means for a football nation. An entire generation of Moroccan children grew up never once watching their country at a World Cup, not as toddlers, not as teenagers, not as young adults starting their own careers. 3 editions of the Africa Cup of Nations were missed in that same stretch. This wasn't a team going through a rough patch. There was no structured system for finding talented kids. No clear pathway once you found them. No professional standard connecting the academies that did exist to the national team that needed them. Talented players were discovered by accident or not at all. Morocco wasn't an underachieving football power. It wasn't a football power at all. And that is the part almost every retelling of Morocco's rise skips straight past because it isn't dramatic, it isn't inspiring, and it doesn't fit neatly into a highlight reel. But it is the starting line, and you cannot understand what Morocco built without first understanding exactly how empty the ground was that they built it on. Skirat, Morocco. At a national sports conference, King Mohammed VI laid out something Moroccan football had never had before, a plan. Not a reaction to one bad tournament, not a new coach with a new tactical system, a long-term national strategy with sport specifically named as a lever of development and progress for the country itself, spoken about in the same terms as roads, schools, and hospitals. Pay attention to this. The first real pillar of that plan wasn't a stadium. It wasn't a star signing. It was governance. Morocco created a national department specifically to bring financial control and professional structure to a football federation that had operated for decades without either. Money that used to disappear into unclear channels now had to be accounted for. Clubs that wanted support had to meet basic standards. That is not the part of the story anyone puts in a trailer. But here's the thing about foundations: nobody films them going in. They just decide whether or not the building stands 20 years later. In 1998, Morocco went out in the group stage and didn't qualify again for 20 years. Nobody builds a King's Football Academy because of a bad tournament. They build one because someone has decided the next 20 years are going to be different, on purpose. If Morocco's rise has a single address, this is it. Just outside Rabat, ordered in 2007, roughly $16.8 million, funded personally by the king, inaugurated in March 2010, the Mohammed VI Football Academy. Here is what makes it different from a normal training center. It takes roughly 50 trainees a year, aged 13 to 18, and gives them full academic education alongside elite football training, not football instead of school. Both under the same roof, on the same daily schedule. 10 classrooms, a medical recovery room, 5 pitches, 3 of them synthetic and FIFA certified. But pay attention to the architecture, because this is where the story gets quietly beautiful. The academy isn't laid out like a fortress or a factory. It's built like a traditional Moroccan douar, 5 buildings arranged around a central village square, the way homes cluster in the country's rural communities. Someone made a deliberate choice for this place to feel like a community a kid could belong to, not an institution a kid gets processed through. Scouts went looking for something specific: raw street football instinct. The kind of technical improvisation you cannot coach into someone, the touch a kid develops playing barefoot on concrete, not on a manicured pitch. Then that instinct was placed inside years of elite structure and discipline. Moroccan creativity, European rigor, under the same roof. By 2022, 4 players from that academy were standing on the pitch in Morocco's World Cup semifinal squad. Not imported talent, not inherited talent, built, on purpose, in a building shaped like a village. One academy near the capital could never be the whole answer, and Morocco knew it. Under Federation President Fouzi Lekja, reforms accelerated after 2017. Morocco expanded the model building over a dozen regional academies across the country's provinces, along with a significant expansion of pitches and training facilities nationwide. Here's why that detail matters more than it sounds like it should. A talented kid born in Rabat used to have an obvious advantage over a talented kid born in a remote southern province. Same country, wildly different odds. Regional academies were built specifically to close that gap, so a good enough player almost anywhere in Morocco could be found, developed, and given the same standard of coaching, the same nutrition, the same tactical education. That is talent identification happening everywhere at once, not just in one royal facility outside the capital. But Morocco built a second pipeline at the same time, and this one didn't run through the provinces. It ran through Europe. Hakim Ziyech was born in the Netherlands, came through Dutch youth international teams, chose to represent Morocco at senior level instead. Brahim Diaz was developed entirely inside Spanish football at some of the best academies in Europe, switched to Morocco in 2024. There are roughly 430,000 people of Moroccan heritage living in the Netherlands alone. One country, one diaspora community, a population at a scale most nations would consider a small city, and Morocco built the scouting relationships to reach into it. Two pipelines running at the same time, one inside Morocco's own provinces, one across a diaspora scattered through Europe, then merged into a single national team. 2026 isn't the surprise in this story, it's the proof. Since 2022, Morocco has not slowed down. Olympic bronze in 2024, the country's first ever medal in a team sport at the Olympics. The 2025 Under-20 World Cup, beating Argentina in the final, becoming the first Arab nation to win it. A U-17 continental title, a Senior Africa Cup of Nations title, 5 different age groups, 5 different competitions. The same country producing results at every single level at the same time, and not one golden generation peaking together, but a pipeline that keeps refilling itself. That is not what luck looks like. That is what a system looks like. In March 2026, Morocco appointed a new senior coach, Mohamed Wabi. He wasn't brought in from outside. He had been coaching Morocco's under-20 side. The federation promoted him from inside the exact structure it had spent 14 years building. Then Morocco beat the Netherlands on penalties, reached the round of 16 again. Morocco is now confirmed as a co-host of the 2030 World Cup, alongside Spain and Portugal. The clearest sign yet that this was never just about one great tournament. In 1998, Morocco went out in the group stage and didn't qualify again for 20 years. In 2008, somebody decided that story was going to change. On purpose. Morocco didn't do this twice because they got lucky twice. They did it twice because a miracle only happens once. Everything after that is just the system working exactly the way it was built to.